Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a great day and you're staying safe in today's day and age with all these lockdowns and whatnot. So today we're going to jump right into it. This is part two, yes, part two of our Super ATV portal lift install on a Honda Pioneer 1000. So if you didn't see the other video, go ahead and go back and watch it. We did the rear lift. I think it looks pretty good. It's nice and clean. Brake lines. Today we are doing the fronts. So I have gone ahead, I cheated a little bit, I loosened a couple of things. I've already taken the brake caliper off, and let me show you why. Is I've already done this side. Now if you're wondering why did I already do one side, not film it well, I don't want to look like a complete idiot when I go to do this install. So a few tips I have found. It's not that bad, honestly. It's literally just take your time. The rear was easier. It was a little bit harder to get to the brakes, the brake lines in the rear. The front is not hard at all. There's a few extra parts. And then I've gone ahead and I did the Super ATV tie rods. As you can see here, I like them. They're more the automotive style, so you just twist it in or out and then you have your jam nuts. Now one thing I didn't like is they don't give you castle nuts, even though the instructions say so. So I couldn't actually get this top nut. It is a nylon locking nut, far enough down, so I only got one part of the cotter pin through the bottom. Obviously I got two parts, not a big deal. And then coming over here, it is night and day getting to your ball joints. Super easy. I really do like that. Look at the extra brake line. Now I'm probably going to take a piece of old fuel hose and cover this part here just so it doesn't chafe right there. And then I will say I do like the Honda, I don't know what these are called, the boots, whatnot, better than the Super ATV ones. The Honda one just seems to have a better fit. Now an interesting thing I found is I was going to hook up the stock tie rods, and this thing was going to need an adjustment anyways, because the stock tie rods were different. So it is what it is. That's your finished product. So let's go ahead, let's hop over here. So install is fairly easy. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to take the shock off. As you can see, I've already undone this. This is the easiest brake line to get to. You can pretty much put that whenever you want, but you do flip the brakes right to left, so bleeder is up, and then we'll take tie rod off. So all right, disassemble is pretty quick. Remove the cotter pin, take castle nut. You're not going to reuse that, or the rotor. Remove the cotter pin from your tie rod. Now, if you don't install the upgraded tie rods, you will be reusing this, and you'll need to go buy a new cotter pin. I've already removed the brake caliper because it's going to be moved to the back with your bleeder screw up there. And then I did reuse these. Again, to get this one out, this is the easiest one right there. And then for the brake, again, you unscrew this here. This just slides in, pull out with a pair of pliers, and brake line falls out. Now I have been reusing these clips, and I have labeled all these parts where they go, and there's a box over there I'm putting them in. So like I said in the previous video, I can put this all back to stock. Now for the tie rod is the hard part. So doing this one-handed. Pulling this off isn't the big deal. There is a metal clamp way back up here, and there's a part. Let's see if I can get in here. Let's see if the camera's showing it real well. There's a part right here where you can squeeze, where they crimp it together. If you're going to reuse it, I don't know if you can. I just take a screwdriver and I bend it. The new kit comes with zip ties that goes around here and up here. When I replaced the one tie rod last time, I put that new band clamp on, and it was a pain in the rear end. I do like the Super ATV idea, and it's actually on the Honda side-by-side form. Everyone that's ever been to tie rods, like, just put heavy-duty zip ties. That's what the Super ATV, I think they're called bellows, comes with. Now these ones here, the Honda ones, do fit a little bit tighter. But I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna get that off. I'll show you how to remove the tie rod if you haven't seen that before. All right, so I got this. As you can see, I just bent it with the screwdriver because I'm not reusing it. Here is the joint. So this is a crow's foot. If you're not familiar, get one if you need to ever do this. This is 1.25 inches. They're like $7 on Amazon. It goes up in here. As you can see, it's squared off. So you get it on here and then you just turn it. Now I've already broke it loose, so I should just be able to turn just like this and it'll come out. I'll show you. So that's what it looks like. And then when you install new ones, if you keep the stock ones, there is a washer right here that goes into these tabs right there. I'll end up keeping this. If I ever do bend the Super ATV one while I'm waiting for replacement parts, I can throw one of these back on. The difference is the Super ATV, the piece right here that goes into the steering box requires Loctite. So you're not gonna get it out real easy. I'm using blue Loctite. I don't want to use red Loctite on the steering box. But as you can see, it comes out pretty easy. One thing I will tell you, if you ever consider doing this portal lift and you haven't done the A-arms, it's probably a lot easier just to do the A-arms, remove the whole unit with the axle come out and install the new A-arms and the portal lift. I guarantee you, I get done half the time. That one over there, I got done about 2 hours. It took me 5 hours to do the back combined. So this one I think I can get done in probably 1.5 hours, maybe 2 because I'm filming. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna remove the shock and then I'm going to come up here and see if the camera's showing it. There's a cotter pin there. I have to remove the top nut, pull the axle out, and then I can do the bottom one. Okay, so once you get the top one out, you can kind of move the axle out of the way. You could pull it completely out if you want to, just like the rear. And honestly, removing this, that's probably the hardest part other than not knowing where you put your tools, even though you just had them, is these stupid cotter pins. They do their job. Now with the new Super ATV spindles, man, I can change a ball joint in half the time, honestly. So I get that out, toss that. So it's a 19mm. I get that on there like that. And then I take my extension. I go through the top hole. I don't know if the camera's showing this or not. Get it in there. Let's take my impact. The reason I use an impact is the ball joint will spin. Now you're gonna reuse this hardware. Now the next thing I gotta do is just tap it to get it off. You can also use a press, but if you usually tap right here and here, you're not gonna hurt it. You're gonna set your spindle on, and then you're gonna head and reuse your castle nuts. Now you're gonna have to get new cotter pins. Make sure it's a good time when you're in here to inspect your ball joint, make sure your boot's not torn, that you do have the C-clip on there. As you can see, I have the cotter pin in there. Next thing, you can put this up, and we're going to reassemble the top piece. So once you get the axle through, first thing you're going to do is you're going to take this, slide it on, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this on. Now this is for the tie rod, and it takes a little bit of the smaller hardware. One thing you have to pay attention to is this has to go on before the portal does. Let me show you why. So this piece goes on, it gets bolted into the back also. The portal slides over, so you can still get a wrench in here to these two, but you can't put these on. So you have to assemble this piece first, and then you put the portal on. This is where you fill, obviously, in your portal. So the next thing we'll do is put the portal on. We're just gonna loosely put everything in there. Now on your portal, it has these really long bolts, but this one is different. Now if you can see the head, it's the same length, but it's different. And this one here goes right back here, up right here. Why they changed the bolt, I don't know. Just the way it is. So when you're putting your portal on, make sure you go nice and easy. Get the splines lined up, just like that. And we'll just slide these through. So when you're looking at your portal, I put this bolt in and this bolt's in. This is the one you take out when you get it. And that's because your brake caliper, or the bracket's gonna go there for your brake caliper. This one up here is the one that takes this weird longer bolt that doesn't have this shoulder. So put your washer on it. And these are 16 millimeter with an 18 on the back. I think this is an 18 front and the back. So once you get these bolts fed through, the next thing I like to do is put on this piece right here. So as you can see in there, it's threaded. It's just like the axle nut. It goes on, it's the same size as the rear. And you just tighten it down. And then you put the cover with the paper gasket on here. I tighten these down to 10 foot-pounds. There's no torque specs for it in the paperwork. The reason I do 10 foot-pounds is the drain plug is 10 foot-pounds, so my torque wrench is also already set. I think it's a 5 millimeter here. The drain plug and fill plug are 8 millimeters. Remember, this is a Gen 3 cast. These aren't the billet, but there's the same internals, same gaskets. The reason I like the Gen 3 is everything's got an O-ring. There's no more Teflon tape on the drain plug, the fill plug, less likely to leak. It's got, they say, a rubber gasket on the inside. I didn't take any of them apart to look. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna get this tightened down. I'll put the cover on, and then I will start with the caliper. Now remember, with the caliper, we have to shim it. I hope I have enough shims. I only got a couple left. I had that side over there, took 2. That back one took 2. Over there took 3. So these brake calipers are different than the rear, the brackets. If you can see, it's got a cutout there. And I doubt the camera's gonna see it. There's an engraving. This one has an R for right, L for left is on that side. And they only fit in one way. So you see that? If you were to put it, yeah, it doesn't fit quite right. The holes don't line up. So it goes with your engraving towards you and this sticking out. Now what I'm gonna do is on every other one, I need at least 1 shim. So I'm gonna start with 1 shim. If I need to put a second one in, I will. And then we'll go ahead and we'll see if everything fits. So it's a pretty simple process. Shims also fit on there the same way. I like to start with the bolt that it came with. Just get it hand started. And then the bolt that goes all the way through the bracket. And start that one. So once I got this on, we're going to take the rotor, slide this on. Then I like to just take the nut, hand tighten it. I'll take a caliper, get everything started. So I can already tell you with 1 shim it's not going to work, and if you look, the rotor's basically touching. So now all I gotta do is I gotta repeat the process. Take the rotor off, take the big nut off, take those 2 bolts out, add more shims, and then start over. So this is, like I said, the most tedious process. So once you get everything shimmed out, this one took 2 shims. What you need to do is you need to go back and torque all these to 60 foot-pounds. All right, I got all that put down. The next thing I need to do is just install the brake line, which again, will slide up. So we'll come up here, we're gonna slide it up, and I will push the clip in, and I will tighten this down. In case you're not familiar, these are a flare fitting. I don't know if you can see the end of that. Right here, it's flared out, and it goes in there. It's for the high pressure. I will bolt it on to the 2 sides right here. Once I get the brake line on, I will reinstall the shock with a limit strap, and I'm gonna go ahead, I'll show you how to do the upgraded tie rod kit. So I got everything buttoned up. I got the brake lines, let me show you how I ran them. From up there, I flip this upside down and upside down. You get on the other side, I have no interference, no nothing. I was gonna put some fuel line on here or some old vacuum line because I had these originally upside down. It was gonna rub on here, decided not to do that. I got the brakes bled. I put portal blood in there. So now, the last thing I'm gonna do is this tie rod. The first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna take, this is a hemi joint, I think is what it's called. If you look on here, it kind of shows you where everything goes. So this comes in a separate bag. You go ahead, now it's reverse threads. Just like this, all the way up. And then this goes, again, it's reverse threads. And this grippy piece here, it's showing towards the outside. It's a little easier to assemble down here. So now you have your bellow. I think that's what's called a boot, whatever. And I'm gonna install this. Now if you go up, and you look on your inner tie rod, there's a nut that comes on here, so you want to take that off and don't lose it. Now remember, we Loctited that in, so that's what's holding that in. Set that there, and then I'm going to slide this over. So what I'm going to do is this piece right here, I'm going to put a zip tie right here. I'm going to push it back, then the collar back there, I'm going to put another zip tie there. Unfortunately, I can't do it one-handed, so I got to set the camera down. The hardest part for this right there, you got to keep working it back past the threads. Okay, now right now my steering wheel is centered, so you see how there's the flat spot there. So that's where I want to put one zip tie, and the other one I have to get back there. You can see I got my zip tie inside and the outer one put on there and trimmed. I put the jam nut back on, and that's so you can tighten everything down. So now I'm going to tighten the tie rod on. The key is when you're doing this to get everything completely tight and in the shortest position. And the reason being is when you untwist it, both sides will be equal lengths. Now I'm going to kind of line this up, and we're going to put the stud in. So the interesting thing is on here it shows castle nuts. Let's see if you can see that in the camera. But they don't give you the castle nuts, like I said on the other side. They give you the nylon locking washers. So I got them to work, but it's pretty simple. So this piece goes in here. They taper down. And then you take, so there's a collar there. So this will end up fitting over the collar. And then this has this angle piece up, so this is going to fit inside just like that. And a nut, you're going to tighten this down. Now this is the one on the other side I had a hard time getting the pin in. On the bottom I have a washer on a nut. I'll go ahead and tighten those down. As you can see up here, again, just like the other side, I can only get one side of the cotter pin in, so I dispense it over. I don't think it's going worth a locking, nylon locking ring. So how do you adjust these? Well, the stock ones, you can only adjust the outer tie rod. With this one, as you can see, because one's right-handed thread, one's left-handed thread, it just moves. So you do your alignment this way. Now, I'll get set kind of where it looks straight. And you take your jam nuts and you just tighten them up against each other once you get your alignments. Once you get your alignment done, you take it for a quick test drive around the block, a mile or so. You come back and you double check the tightness of those jam nuts. With me, I'm actually going to double check the alignment just to make sure nothing moves. If you don't know how to do an alignment on your Pioneer or any other UTV, I'll put a link in the description below. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna get the wheels back on this, get it aligned. Well, it's the next day, I went ahead, I got the tires mounted to the rims, and I have them on. Let me tell you what, it's epic. I think this is the coolest, absolute best looking Pioneer out there. I might be a little prejudiced because it's mine, but I've waited 5 years to buy my first side-by-side and just over 2 years to finish my creation. It still needs little tweaks, don't get me wrong, but let me show you what it looks like. I mean, look at it. It's a Honda Pioneer on 35-inch tall tires, with a 4-inch portal lift with 30% gear reduction, and it is epic. I think this is the coolest thing. Now, yes, I know it is not for everyone, but it's for me. So, I'm gonna end this video right here. I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna do a recap video on any tips and tricks I have learned on installing this portal lift, and we will go over the height difference on my ground clearance and all that stuff when I turn. So don't forget to share, like, subscribe, leave a comment below on what do you think. I know it's not for everyone, but man, you gotta admit, it looks like a beast. Until next time.